Hi, I'm Sheila E., and I'm here at BET.
Iconic Message for America. That's a really strong title. What message does America need to hear right now?
Ooh, the message now really is uniting people instead of the division that's happening now through hate, bigotry, white supremacy, all the things that are just wrong. We need to unite and make a difference and do it in a way that is nonviolent, continuing the legacy of Dr. King in a nonviolent way, and protesting and fighting for things that we really believe in that are right. And through music and this record, Iconic, I went back to the 60s and the 70s, and which is music that I grew up listening to, and picked songs, chose songs that were important to me then, but more important to me now, that are relevant to the times we're in right now. So I also called different artists as well who were available to be able to be on the record, like Ringo Starr. We're doing 2 or 3 of Beatles songs. He's playing on the record. Bootsy Collins is playing. George Clinton, activist Dolores Huerta, activist Angela Davis, Freddie Stone from Sly and the Family Stone, Candy Dolfer, Israel Houghton, gospel singer, and my crazy family. But it definitely, the message is unity, uniting us together.
You grew up in a musically rich household, to say the least. And I wanted to know, given your Creole roots, how did you frame African percussion and rhythm and Latin percussion and rhythm to become the drummer that you are today?
I believe that I've got the best of both worlds. First of all, living and growing up in the Bay Area, awesome, because growing up listening to music in the Bay, the radio stations weren't just like R&B and funk and soul and pop and rock and roll. It was one station played everything. So we grew up listening to Motown, and then Santana, Grateful Dead, and Jefferson Starship, and there are all kind of people just on one, Stevie Wonder, it didn't matter. And so growing up and listening to that music, and then a lot of the music came from the Bay Area, from Sly to Carlos, my dad, the Pointer Sisters, Tower Power, I mean, the list goes on. And then having the roots from my mom being Creole, and then my dad being Mexican and Indian, and the mixture of learning the music that my dad grew up listening to as well. He would practice in the house every day with LPs and pull out his percussion and just start jamming to the records and listening to people that he admired and honored. And then next thing I know, these people that he's listening to, sometimes they would be in our house and it would be a full out jam session. So then learning Latin jazz, Motown, and then mixing Afro-Cuban and then Brazilian. And my dad just had a collection of awesome LPs. And mixing all that music together, that's why I say the Creole side is like cooking a pot of gumbo. Like, you're gonna put everything in that gumbo. It starts with the root. My root is, the foundation is Latin jazz. And then from there you start spicing it up with all genres of music. And that's pretty much what has made me the artist and the musician that I am, is the different genres of music that I grew up listening to. A little bit of everything, classical, you name it, except maybe polka, but other than that, most music.
What do you think is behind the resurgence of message music? Like, woke music is also popular, like that kind of activist, socially minded music is really within the mainstream, almost in the same way that it was when Sly and the Family Stone were putting out records. What do you think is behind that happening right now?
Well, I think what has happened in our administration right now has, I think most Americans are now awake and wanting to do something, because I think we all got a little bit lazy in what was happening, what was going on, and it's our fault, kinda, that we need to come together and figure out what we're going to do. And I think a lot of people didn't go out and vote, and everyone thought it's just going to be okay and things would be fine. And now we're in this position, in this place where the administration is really tearing us apart, and there's just a huge divide. So music for us right now is really important because we can, through music, send a message, and not only that, create something if we haven't, like redoing songs that we're doing now, but send that message through music to say, man, you know, let's get together and let's do this the right way. We need leaders, you know. I grew up listening and watching and learning from leaders. I had leaders to look at. I had parents. Those were my leaders. A lot of kids now don't even have two parents, you know, and it's kids taking care of kids. So where are our leaders? Where are the people that we honor and we want to be like or are encouraging us, you know? And right now the urgency through music is reaching the youth, because sooner or later they're going to be running our country. So what are we doing? Are we educating them in a place where they know what the midterms are about, which are going to come up, and what are we going to vote for, and vote and figure out what are these things that are on these papers that people kind of go, I'll just pick this because I heard of this. No, we need to study, and we need to find out, you know, what is important. How do you make a change? Well, you don't make a change by not voting. You make the change by looking out and reading things, and, you know, knowledge is power, and figuring out what is good for you in your life and what do you want for you and your kids to come. Because right now there's a huge generation gap of our country, a lot of older people, and then you've got, there's no, the middle part of our country is not completely there, and you've got like the older people, and then you've got really young people, and there's this little part here that we're missing something. So, you know, we really have to reach out to our kids and encourage them, you know, encourage them, and to do something.
Can you talk a little bit about the healing power of music? Because you're living that, and you also started an organization called Elevate Hope, and I'd love for you to talk about how therapeutic music can be, and what you do to put forward that belief in the world.
Yeah, music for me is healing. Some music is offensive, though, you know, it just depends on what you listen to. But for me, healing was, music was healing for me. It brought me through things. It helped me to get away from things, and especially some music that I listen to, it's like it uplifts me. It makes me feel good. It warms my heart. Some music makes me cry, but it really helps me to reflect on what reality is, you know, and where we are and what's happening. Family, God, you know, my spiritual belief. And for some people don't believe in anything. They don't want to, which is fine. But I find that I'm not in control of my life, and so I feel that spiritually, when I listen to music that uplifts me, I feel better about myself, and I feel better about wanting to help other people and help the world, and whatever we can do. And so for me, my friend and I, Lynn, we started Elevate Hope a long time ago, and we have now Elevate Oakland with another friend, Jason. And we started with the kids in foster care, because for them, music was something that they didn't have a lot of, and we realized from our own experiences that music was healing. So we thought that we would help the kids in foster care, especially with abuse. Some of the kids were severely abused to the point where they were not speaking, and so we brought music into the classroom and learned that through music, they all of a sudden, after years, started speaking. And some of the teachers had never heard some of the kids speak before, which was interesting, especially this one kid, never heard him speak before. And until we brought in music, he started talking, and it was like a miracle, in which we know, again, how it has healed us. And so with kids that are abused, there is a breakdown of, you know, not trusting, being angry, the place where they're so severely abused that they don't want to talk, and so we figured with music, using it as art and therapy, that the kids would be able to communicate, which is exactly what happened. So we started in foster care, and then we moved on to the public schools because the schools now are taking out all the art programs and the music programs, and with that the kids are suffering, and so what are we doing? We're not helping them, and so many kids come to us often to say, you know, we'd love to learn how to play this or play that, or we want to learn how to sing, or we want to learn how to dance, or we want to take photography or videography or, you know, paint, you know, but we don't have these classes in our schools. So we're thinking, God, what are we doing? We need to try to help. So now we're in public schools, helping public schools, and we need more help. I mean, we're at barely making a dent because so many schools, even just in the Bay Area, need our help. And so with music, you know, we can do great things with good music, positive music, uplifting music.
I'm sure of it. There's a child right now, I'm sure, who's watching this or going to watch this and facing an abusive home life. What do you say to that child who's facing that despair?
It's hard. I know that if you're listening and watching this, I guarantee you that if you tell someone, I'm going to look in the camera, if you tell someone that this is happening to you, that you're being abused in some kind of way, if you tell someone about it, that's first of all going to be part of your healing to move forward in your life. And so you've got to share with someone what's happening and get help. And whether it be, you know, a relative or someone at a church or a counselor or someone that you trust, making sure that it's the right person, but tell someone and then share that moment and let them know what's happening, because you need to get out of that situation. And sometimes it's hard because a lot of people are afraid of change. They don't want to tell someone and they want to keep it secret, but you have to tell someone, because keeping these things inside and not sharing your story and getting out of that situation will kill you. First of all, because you're holding in anger, you're holding in shame, you feel dirty, you feel it's your fault, there's blaming, you're not confident, you don't feel good, you're sick. It creates disease, and then disease kills you. And that's not the way that God has created us to be, in a place of fear. And the only way to get out of that, again, is to share your story with someone. So if you're listening, please go tell someone and stay safe. Tell someone and make sure you're out of the situation, because God has awesome plans for you. He's got gifts for you to open, and He's got things for you to see. And He wants you to tell your story to someone else to save someone else's life. And that is so important. It's why I'm sharing with you, because I myself was abused and raped when I was young. And it just so happened by a babysitter. And it was no one's fault. But yeah, I grew up angry for a while and didn't want to talk to anyone and went through the whole thing. So I know what that's about. And that's why he, you know, in doing this interview, asking how music has healed, and it has healed me. I'm here to tell you, I'm a witness. I'm here, standing here, right here, letting you know that you too can change and live your fullest life, telling somebody and getting out of the situation. I promise you, you'll be okay. All right.
Now, speaking of healing and moving forward, I imagine this year was difficult with the passing of Prince and then also recording an album. How did those emotions influence, if at all, the process of making Iconic, and what was it like making an album in a year of mourning? A year and a half ago, I wrote, I put a folder on my computer that said politically correct. And I knew that it would take me about a year to write a record that I've always wanted to talk about, even more so now. It ended up not happening, and I lost Prince, and I was doing a dance record. At the time losing Prince, I stayed in the studio and started writing more songs. So there's 2 albums now sitting pretty much done. And at the time of mourning Prince, then I started mourning our country, because during the election and things that were happening,
You know, we stood for so many years with the youth saying no more bullying on social media. You know, these kids are committing suicide. No more bullying. All of these programs came up and these slogans, and everyone's like, no more bullying. And then we get someone that comes in bullying his way into the White House. Is a disgrace. It is horrible, horrifying that this man is in the White House. So during that time, there was no way that I was going to release a dance record, and the record that I wrote during Prince's morning of Prince's passing, I didn't want to release that yet either. It didn't feel right. What I needed to do was, well, let me go back in that folder, but I didn't write that record yet. So the fastest way to get something out is to go back and listen to music that I grew up listening to and pick these songs specifically for this reason, and put this record out now because it's needed, and it's needed in so many ways. So, you know, those records are there, but, you know, the change came with the bullying that was happening, and then the racist remarks from that guy who has said so many horrible things. He spoke about people of color and what is happening. The division and the hatred that has come out. I started getting angry, and I don't want to be angry, but I said I have to do something, because now he has said Mexicans are rapists and they're drug dealers and all kind of other craziness, and I'm like, this is not who my grandfather was. My grandfather came from Saltillo, Mexico, and came to this country and was a great man and built a beautiful family, had a beautiful family, and built a great business. And for this man to say something about my grandfather and all my family, you know, it's so crazy, because I ended up tweeting to that man and saying, look, this is a picture of my grandfather, a beautiful person, a beautiful man. He is not any of what you say he is, you know. And I just thought that, again, here comes bullying after we continue to get this movement with the youth about not bullying on social media. So I just thought it was just time to say something, and it's how I feel right now. It didn't make sense to do a dance record. I don't want to dance to music that really wasn't saying anything. I need to say something now about how I feel, and I'm very upset about what's happening.
So in a statement you released, you said, in being chosen to open for Prince during the Purple Rain tour, we embraced our growth together, as artists and as people. We still played as children will, but the world of sparse innocence and demand of dreams took its toll, and the childlike laughter was replaced by the responsibilities of adult life. But for Prince, that was only another challenge, and instead of retreating, he boldly went forth, like a fairy tale prince might do, which only encouraged me to follow. And I wanted to ask you, how did your relationship to music and the magical relationship you had with Prince help you to recapture the innocence and imagination from your childhood?
The awesome part about what I get to do and this gift that God has given me was realizing my purpose. And so my purpose is music, and the way that I'm able to create, a lot of things happen on stage where we're very spontaneous. You know, things would happen, but, you know, almost 99.9% of the time when you see me perform, we're creating something new right in front of you guys. And that's just so awesome. It's like we don't have to do the same thing over and over again. And I just remember growing up with my dad and my mom and listening to music every single day and watching my dad play, you know, and how happy it made him. It made me happy too. I remember the first time that I played with him, I was 5 years old. You know, that was like huge. And it's like, man, I'm playing with my daddy at 5 years old and getting dressed up and going to play with him and his brothers, the Escovedo brothers. And then later on at 15, or no, it was about 14, I started sitting in with other bands a lot, and the first time someone said, I want to pay you, for playing, I immediately responded with, no, you don't have to pay me anything. That's fine. I'm doing this because I love to do it, so don't give me any money. I'm offended. No, this is like, no, don't pay me. No, I'm doing this because this makes me, I feel like a kid. This makes me happy. And finally, my dad came over and said, come here. And he walked me to the kitchen. And he opened the refrigerator. He said, you take that money because we need to eat. So I'm like, oh, okay, so is this like a job? I never considered it a job. Well, no, it's okay to get paid for the things that you love to do. And sometimes we're taught that you get paid to work and sometimes you don't get to do what you love to do. But it was okay for me to get paid and do what I do and love what I do and be blessed by people wanting to see me do what I do. And that's huge. Like a lot of people don't get that opportunity, but more people will when they realize, and the key was when they realize what their purpose is. And I didn't know that. Once you know what your purpose is, you're going to be happy about what you're doing. This is my purpose. I can just continue to plant the seed wherever I go. It's like, here, I'm going to play. I don't care if it's one person or 500,000 people or 61 million people. It doesn't matter. I feel the same way every single time. And that feeling is knowing what your purpose is. Every single time that I play, every single time, I still feel the way that I did when I was 5 years old. That is huge. I still carry that thing that makes me feel good, which is I'm nervous, there's butterflies. That's the butterfly right there, that butterfly. That's who I am. It's like, let me fly, here I go, oh my God, I'm nervous, I'm excited. Every single time I hit the stage, I feel like that. And I know that the day that I don't feel that, if that ever happens, that means I'm done and I don't need to do it anymore. But that, I hope it never does, because it makes me feel young. It makes me feel like I'm a kid. I'm having fun and I'm playing with you. I'm playing with this person, with that. We're just having fun. It's like, let's all come over to my house and let's just jam. That's what it feels like.
It recalls legacy when you talk about your childhood and why you'll never stop having that joy. What do you want your legacy to be?
My legacy is, I hope it to be, my legacy is love. It really is. Love surpasses all understanding. And if I could stay in that place of love, I can do anything, because I'm not going to be angry at someone. I'm not going to be upset, or I'm not going to compare myself to someone else, because God made me who I am, and I'm okay with that. So if I love you like I love you like my brother, and I love her like my sister, and I love him like my brother, if I love people the way that God loves people, all people, then I can reach people that some others can't, because through love, I'm not going to be angry, And that's why I continue to say, through love, we can unite people, and with hate, we can't. There's a divide, it's not going to happen. And with love, man, in my shows, I tell people in the middle of the show, if it was for us to come and play the show, but for this 1 second, this one moment to happen, everyone in the audience, just let me explain. I said, it takes one person to change the atmosphere, for good or for bad. So one person changes the atmosphere. So for right now, with love, that word love, there are a lot of people that do not hear that word, or don't feel that feeling of love. They never get to hear it, or it's been days, weeks, months, years that they don't hear that, or someone has said to them, hey, I love you. It's like, oh, and get a hug or a smile. So for this moment, the audience, I'd say to you, one person can change the atmosphere, so let's do that. So everyone here, you turn to the person to the left or the right of you, in front of you or behind you, that you don't know. Turn to them, look them in the eyes and say, I love you, and watch what happens. Every show, just about 99.9%, I really don't see anyone not doing it. And every single show that I do that, I've been doing that. Everyone's so happy. And that moment I said, now this is love. This is what America looks like right here. This is it right here. So how you feel right now, take that feeling right now. And when you leave here, plant that feeling and that seed in somebody else's life and watch what happens. I don't have nothing to say after that. For real, like, that's what we got to do.
You can answer this next question.
Okay.
You can be off the record, but you'll let me know.
There's no off the record, but go ahead.
All right. So you're a legendary artist. You have an iconic catalog beyond the title iconic. And you see when legendary artists transition, there's often an ugly struggle over the value of what they put into the world, of their art and their estate, and words like that come up. You laid the path for even the artists in this room. How can we protect your legacy of love?
I appreciate that. No one has ever asked me that. Wow. That's kind of deep, actually. Well, it starts with me doing it the right way, first of all. This business, the music business, it should be called business of music. We as artists and musicians tend to not take care of our business, and you can count and continue to count hundreds of musicians and artists, even from back in the day. A lot of them end up passing away with not even a dime, no money for funeral arrangements, nothing. And we were kind of almost taught that, like, not to worry about money, don't think about it. It's important for us as artists and anyone that wants to be one to take care of business. And anything you do, read the fine print and make sure you have someone that you trust, or some watching one, watching the other. And it starts with me doing that business on my end. I think you as people, in respect to who I am and whenever I leave, that I hope that people look at me as a person that has been here or been in the world wanting to do good, and protecting that, and knowing that I gave my 150%. I always have, and I just hope that people see that and respect that, because all I ever wanted, and growing up and playing, not knowing that the world would see me as a woman playing a man's instrument, that was never told in my house. So out of respect, just being respected is a beautiful thing. It really is.